Good day everyone, it's me again, Vince Carl Aldaya. So for today's educational vlog, we will be tackling the chapter 6, lesson 1A. So let's begin. Chapter 6, lesson 1A covers the topic justice. So let's first move on to the introduction. The term justice is derived from the Latin word justitia, which means joining or fitting or of bounding or tie. And also, it has to coordinate and draw a harmonious balance between rights and duties of the people living in the society. And it is connected with the moral, social, economic, political, and legal relations of an individual with others. The concept of justice has been analyzed and defined differently by philosophers, political thinkers, economists, sociologists, and religious leaders. It has been changing from time to time, depending upon the conditions and circumstances prevailing in each age. So John Rawls claims that justice is the first virtue of social institutions as truth is of system of thought. And that's the short introduction about justice. So let's now move on to the definition. And there are three people who gave their definition on justice. So let's move first to Charles Merriam. According to him, justice consists of a system of understanding and procedures through which each in accorded what is agreed upon as fair. Barker also says that justice is the reconciler and the synthesis of political values. It is their union in an adjusted and integrated whole. Saint-Simon added his idea that from each according to his capacity, to each according to his need. It is difficult to give a precise meaning of the term justice or the definition of the justice. Political thinkers and jurists had given different meanings and definitions. The reason for this is that the contents and implications of justice differ from country to country and also from time to time. What was justice in the past is not justice in the present day. Therefore, it is difficult to define justice. And let's move on to the meaning. So in the ordinary sense, justice means to give an aggrieved party what is due to it and punish an individual or a group of individuals or an agency whenever offense is committed. In the narrow sense, meaning of justice is associated with a legal system and legal process in a society. So in this sense, it is related to the settlement of disputes through judicial bodies. Example of this is that a man living in a society is attached to another man in one way or the other. This relationship has few rights and duties attached to it. When a man, while enjoying his rights, also fulfills his duties and behaves in an appropriate manner with others, then he is said to be doing justice. So justice is peace and genuine respect for people. Fairness, justness, fair play, fair-mindedness, equity, equitableness, impartiality, lack of bias, objectivity, neutrality, lack of prejudice, open-mindedness, non-partisanship. And justice is the legal or philosophical theory by which fairness is administered. The concept of justice differs in every culture. Next is the characteristics of justice. First is human welfare, ethical concept, changeability, fulfillment of reasonable interest, performance of duties to provide everybody his reasonable share. Justice is related to values prevailing in society. Since we're done to the characteristics of justice, let's move on to the next topic, which is all about the basic postulates of justice. So, the basic postulates of justice are the following. First is truth, second, uniform values, equality before law, liberty, impartiality, respect of individuals' ability and capability. Protective discrimination is not injustice, provision of rights, and lastly, fulfillment of basic needs. And now let's talk about the kinds of justice or dimensions of justice. There are four kinds or dimensions of justice, namely legal dimensions of justice, political dimensions of justice, social dimensions of justice, and lastly, the economic dimensions of justice. And first, let's talk about the legal dimension of justice. So, the legal dimension of justice, this is the narrow concept of justice and is associated with the legal system and the legal procedure existing in the society. The court of law interpret the law and apply the law after hearing the parties involved in the dispute. Here, justice is what is administered by the court of law, and the interpretation of the judge is considered as an embodiment of justice. Justice in the legal sense requires the following conditions: A. Just and reasonable non-discriminatory laws, the administration of justice by free and independent courts, an expensive judicial process. Court procedures should be simplified and avoid delay in justice. And lastly, there should be a rule of law in the country. Justice and laws have close affinity with each other. State makes laws and implements them in order to establish justice in the society. Next is the political dimension of justice. Political justice stands for a free and fair participation of people in the political sphere. Nobody should be denied of political rights, and to provide equal political rights is political justice. Also, universal adult franchise is the expression of political justice. All liberal democratic countries are based the principle of one man, one vote, one value is faithfully adopted. Political institutions should be representatives in the character. Equality of opportunity is getting elected and in holding public offices. Freedom of expression and association and rights to seek redressal of public grievances are the important pillars of political justice. Following conditions are necessary to ensure political justice. First is universal adult franchise, right to contest elections, right to criticize the government, right to form political parties, right to protest, right to petition, respect for human rights, protection of the interests of minorities. Political authority should be based on the consent of the people, democratic system, and lastly, special provisions for the protection of the interests of backward classes and backward tribes. Next is social dimension of justice. Social justice means to give proper opportunities to every citizen in every sphere of life to develop his personality and to end all types of social inequalities. The concept of social justice is based on the belief that all human beings are equal and that no discrimination should be made on the ground of race, religion, caste, sex, or place of birth. Following conditions are necessary to ensure social justice. First, equality before law, absence of special rights, prohibitions of discrimination, to end caste system, just distribution of wealth, democratic government, just balance between freedom and social control, social security, provision of equal political rights, protection of interests of minorities, and lastly, abolition of social values. Also, there are three implications of social justice. First is equal social opportunities, special attention to weaker sections, removal of social evils. Now let's move on to the last dimension of justice, which is the economic dimension of justice. So economic justice means to provide equal opportunities to everybody to earn his livelihood. It also means to help such people who are not able to work and earn their livelihood. The basic needs of everybody, such as food, cloth, shelter, should be fulfilled, and the unequal distribution of wealth needed to be stopped. So economic justice implies non-discrimination between man and on the basis of economic viability. It stands for by assuring adequate means of livelihood to all, by making provisions for adequate working conditions, for equal pay for equal work, fair distribution of resources, equal economic opportunities to all people, and etc. So the concept of economic justice was emphasized by the socialistic thinkers. Following conditions are necessary to ensure economic justice. First is right to work for everybody, fulfillment of basic needs, to reduce wide economic disparities, protection of the interests of workers, from each according to his ability and to each according to his needs, just distribution of wealth and of economic exploitation, special protection of the interests of weaker section, limited right to property, question of state interference in economic needs, fixed economy is better, and lastly, equal wages for same job. The conclusion. We can conclude that justice is concerned with human welfare and the protection of reasonable interests. It can be experienced only when each citizen will perform his duties in a right perspective. A just society is that society where every individual gets legal, political, social, economic justice. For every just society, there should be a proper combination among equality, liberty, and justice. There is a close mutual relationship among them. Individual is the subject of this concept. But before I end this video, I want you to remind this quote or to remember this quote. According to J.B. Morton, justice must not only be seen to be done, but has to be seen to be believed. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope you learned something from my video and see you on my next vlog. Bye-bye.